With the nav key to Stellar Bay, we're one step closer to achieving our goal of saving the lives of the colonists on board the Hope. The chemicals that Phineas needs in order to achieve this goal can be sourced with the help of Hiram Blythe, an information broker who is currently hiding out on Monarch.
If we don't put a stop to the board, they're going to drive this colony toward a complete societal collapse. You'll see what I mean when you arrive on Monarch.
Since Monarch is a veritable hellscape, Phineas suggests we seek out a guide for our expedition.
I recommend a hunter by the name of Nyoka. Frequents the drinking establishments of Stellar Bay. Very hard to miss.
I have Ada steady us over Monarch, and I prepare my body for the journey ahead with a meal and a nap. Once I exit the ship, it's immediately apparent that Monarch is every bit the shithole that I heard it would be. I take the lift down off the docking pad.
Hey, hold on there. I gotta sign you in.
Sidestep Grim, the check-in clerk, and make my way into the first visible drinking establishment, aptly named the Yacht Club. Even without the quest marker telling me where to go, I know this hot mess propped up by the bar is Nyoka.
And the little bastard's slippery, right? On account of its blood, so it's sliding. All over the place, trying to crawl away. Getting so I can't tell the blood from the mud.
Eventually,
Don't interrupt, it's rude. But I gotta get in there, get right in that baby rap's stomach and dig it out. If so much as a drop of stomach acid got on that medallion, I don't know what I'd do.
Eventually, she breaks away from her drunken rambling and notices me.
Right. What are you staring? Wait. You ain't from around here. Who are you?
I tell her I'm looking for Hiram Blythe, and she says she can take me to him once she sobers up. The only problem is, the only thing that can do that quickly is a medication called Caffeinoid. She would get it herself, but she's been cut off for the month since she drinks like a fish 24/7. I head to the MSI corporate dispensary down the street, and I'm greeted by the creepiest woman I've met so far in this game.
Hello, dearie. Why, I don't believe I've seen you before. And with sweet cheeks like those, I'd remember. What can Auntie Abigail do for you?
I use my medical knowledge to confidently ask for a caffeinoid supplement, and the creepy doctor asks who they're for. I fear that if I say who the pills are actually for, she'll refuse to supply them, so I dodge the subject. I say the pills are for me, and she says the supply is reserved for Stellar Bay residents only. I tell her she'll have to force me to give her a name, and she takes that as a sexual advance, to which I and then decline. No matter what, she keeps pressuring me for a name, so I tell her it's for Nyoka.
Oh, her.
She mentions that she told Nyoka she could get a larger supply if she joined up with the planet's corporation, MSI, but she refused. Go figure. I try to use persuasion as a last-ditch effort to get her to slip me a pill, but she doesn't. Fine. During our conversation, she let slip that the actual doctor's personal terminal as well as the medical supply room are both upstairs, so I mosey on up to the second floor, help myself to some pills, and head back to Nyoka.
Ooh, that hits the spot. Right in the, oh, no, there it is. There it is. Yes. We're in business. Let's go.
After doing all that work to get her sober, she spills the beans on where Hiram Blythe is holed up.
Oh, Hiram? I ain't checked in on that man in an age. He's running the giant radio tower we lovingly call Devil's Peak.
And then I send her back to my ship because I don't need a Sherpa. With that task complete, I hit level 14. I unlock the scanner perk, which increases TTD headshot and weak spot damage, and dump my skill points into the stealth category. On my way out of Stellar Bay, another old lady is hooting and hollering out in the street. What is it with the old people here? This lady, Agnes, is frantic because her son, Tucker, left home and hasn't been back yet.
Please, you have to help me get my little Tucker back. He ran away and is going to get himself killed. Oh, I just know a Raptidon is melting him with acid as we speak.
Apparently, he ran up the road towards Amber Heights. I tell her to calm the fuck down, and I will keep an eye out for him. The Monarch Wilderness is split into two uneven halves. Stellar Bay is in the northeast, with a large Grand Canyon-esque divide which runs southwest. All of my current objectives are on the larger side of the map, so I figure I should get the opposite side of the map explored ahead of time in order to speed up any future quests I may get. I head to the opposite side of Stellar Bay to go out the correct door, and there is yet another ranting and raving civilian in the streets.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
I gently calm him down.
Oh, for God's sake, pull yourself together, man.
And he tells me to avoid the room on the right inside the workers' lodge. He's the janitor, and he cleans the rooms while the workers are away. But he found a dead body in the room on the right, so nobody should enter. I agree, and walk away. Inside the room on the right, the place has been tossed, and there is indeed a corpse decorating the floor. Not to worry though, Detective Cygnus is on the case. In my search for clues, I find a hastily packed suitcase and a tossball betting slip from Left Field Tossball Betting, an establishment right down the street from the Workers' Lodge. I head there and have a chat with the woman at the front desk, Nell.
Ooh, you're the new face. Wow, you must be up on all the latest tossball games.
I broach the subject of a DB having a tossball slip on his person, and she says the slip belongs to Isaac, so now our DB has a name. The only real detail she can tell me about this dude is that his teeth were a train wreck.
They were pretty distinct. Monarch doesn't exactly have a thriving dental industry, and Isaac seemed to get stuck in all sorts of bad habits, dietary and otherwise.
Lack of dental hygiene aside, Nell says sometimes he would repeatedly bet on a losing team and end up owing the wrong people money. She tells me that Isaac was last seen getting kicked around by someone named Elijah and his crew. These hooligans, as she calls them, were last seen in an alley behind the yacht club. If I know anything about hooligans, it's that they always hang out in the same spot and never have anything else to do. So I shelve this quest for now and head out the town's west gate towards Stellar Bay Ruins north to do some exploring. Just outside the gate is an abandoned settlement full of raptidons, so I clear them all out and loot what I can. One of the buildings has a terminal with some performance reviews on it for MSI corporate staff. One of the reviews is for Sanjar Nandi, the on-site MSI representative of Stellar Bay. From what it says, Sanjar is unfit for promotion because his reports don't have enough funny references or slogans and focus on ridiculous shit like numbers, statistics, and completing his own work instead of delegating it to lesser employees. The nerve of this man. I'll be sure to give Sanjar a good talking to later. I loot my way up the house and come to a voice calling out through a storage room.
Huh? Hello? Hello? I hear Boots out there. Wait, can Raps hear Boots?
She says she accidentally locked herself inside the storage room and needs the key, which her friend took when he ran away and he probably got eaten by raptidons. Sure, I could kill and dissect every raptidon nearby, but instead employ my engineering knowledge and tell her to lift the fucking door handle inside the room.
Ah, phew. Thank you so much. It was getting all stuffy in there and I was getting a mite lightheaded and I think maybe I was gonna die. Now I'm out here and I'm headed back to Amber Heights.
Now that Huxley is free and not at all embarrassed about how dumb she is, she heads out and I continue on. With each enemy I gun down, it's apparent that the current strength of my guns, nor the amount of ammo I have, will be enough to kill everything out here, so I'll have to pick my battles carefully. I say that, continue to kill enemies, and then level up to 15, dumping all my skill points into the dialogue category. Once I reach the end of the main road, I arrive at a Rizzo corporate outpost called Cascadia, which has been almost completely destroyed and is currently crawling with Mantis and Raptidon enemies. I stealth into the town for a quick look at what I'm up against, and I see some named Raptidons. As any gamer knows, when you see a normal enemy with a custom name, they're important, so I get to work gunning down every enemy in Cascadia and looting every open building. A large warehouse in the center of town has a workbench and my weapons have seen better days, so I clear out any opposition, do some equipment repairs, and sell some stuff to the vending machine. There is a landing pad at the edge of Cascadia, so I head there to call my ship down. If I didn't get the Stellar Bay nav key from Gladys, I would have skipped Roseway altogether and just fought from Cascadia to Stellar Bay once I got to Monarch, but I digress. Aboard the ship, I rest my weary bones and change up my armor to blend in with the Monarch locals. Since I can't fast travel, I would have to run from Cascadia all the way back to Stellar Bay, since the Cascadia bridge connecting the two sides of the canyon is currently blocked. However, I have the bright idea to just bring the ship up to orbit and dock back in Stellar Bay. Once I exit the ship, I sidestep Grim for the second time and exit the south gate towards Stellar Bay Ruins South to get some quests done. Just like up north, my path is blocked by an abandoned settlement full of raptidons that I immediately kill so I can take my time looting the place. Inside the town chapel, I find a nice hat. That is the actual name of the hat, and it is delightfully obvious why. Following the road signs, I continue heading for Fallbrook since that's where the majority of my quests want me to go. I stumble into somewhere called Bayside Terrace Ruins, and then I find a warehouse behind it, which should be locked by a security gate, but isn't. I'm sure I'll have to come back here later. From the main road, I see a camp of marauders with two groups of raptidons between me and them. Remember when I said I should avoid unnecessary fighting? Me neither. I kill every Raptidon while somehow avoiding falling into one of the many sulfur pits around here, and creep up on the Marauders. There are actually 2 separate Marauder camps here, with a lake separating all of us. I attempt to pull the closest group towards me so I can use TTD and gun them down, which I am successful in doing. I then go to scout the second camp, only to realize there were actually 3 whole camps of Marauders here, so the remaining 2 camps both run at me. This is where playing Destiny 2 for the last few months has worked against me, because my fingers were attempting all kinds of pro maneuvers to avoid death, but this is not the game for that, so I suffered my first death of this run. I load my last save and I am back where I was 20 some odd minutes ago, the south gate of Stellar Bay. I exit town, shoot some Raptidons, loot everything, get my nice hat back, and make it to Bayside Terrace once again. The group of Canids here that I torched with ease before did not happen the same way this time, and one of them managed to hit me. It was one hit, sure, but that one hit broke my leg and now I can't run. My leg.
Your what?
I hobble up the road to the nearest safe location, which happens to be Amber Heights, home of the Iconoclasts, Monarch's rebel faction. Their spokesperson, Rose, cheerfully greets me at the front gate, and I remember I'm looking for Agnes's son, Tucker, so I ask about him.
The new boy! Yes, he's quite clever. He took to our teachings very quickly. Last I saw him, he was headed into one of the buildings up the hill.
I shamble towards the back of the settlement and, sure enough, I find a little boy named Tucker.
I am not a little boy. Haven't been one for decades, no matter what my mama wishes. I take it she's still looking for me?
As it turns out, Agnes was against Tucker leaving home ever since his father died for fear of him dying as well. Agnes sheltered and smothered him well into adulthood until he decided one day to just up and leave in order to get away from her. My persuasion isn't high enough to tell him to just be a man and talk to his mom, so he mentions a brilliant plan to fake his death. He gives me his father's ring, the ring he's been wearing ever since his father died, and instructs me to tell Agnes I found the ring on his dead body. That way, she gives up looking for him. I just want to get paid, so I agree to do it. Next to Tucker is a terminal with a whole bunch of work orders I could complete if my engineering, hacking, or science skills were high enough, so I'll have to come back later and see what happens if I can complete them. Sure, I could Google it, but where's the fun in that? My broken leg doesn't prevent me from fast traveling, thankfully, so I teleport back to the Unreliable to sleep off this critical injury. After I'm rested and fed, I head out, bypass Grim for the 3rd time, and go tell Agnes her little boy is big dead.
No, that can't be true. Not my little boy, not my baby.
She pays me, thanks me for trying, and I level up to 16, feeling no remorse whatsoever. I unlock the Harvester perk, granting me 15% health recovered per kill, and split my skill points between hacking and persuasion just to bring them up to an even 50. Now it's time to head for Fallbrook. After introducing my bullets to every living thing along the main road, I eventually come to a destroyed bridge with an NPC chilling on the other side. I remember something semi-important I have to do here, so I make my way down below the bridge and follow the very large bloodstains to an in-ground hatch, which I enter. Inside, the cave is thoroughly secured with proximity mines and laser tripwires, but no enemies are popping up on my radar at the moment, so I carefully proceed through and immediately step on a mine I didn't see. After making it to the end of the cavern, I'm greeted by a guy named Arthur.
Stay back. I may be wounded, but I'm still armed. How'd you get past my traps anyway?
I use my medical skills to treat his wounds, and then he fills me in on what happened. The way he tells it, he was running supplies for Catherine, the Fallbrook-based contact that Sublight Salvage and Shipping's very own Lilia Hagen sent us here to locate. Marauders saw the goods for the taking, blew the bridge, and stole everything. Arthur tells me if I want to go after them, I'll probably be rewarded by Catherine, but then he does a shit job telling me where the Marauders are holed up, so I end up wandering for a bit. I come across some kind of science outpost, but Marauders are posted up outside, and something tells me they're not helping the 2 scientists tied up on the roof there.
Look! I didn't mean what I said about your outfit. It's very fashionable, I swear.
I clear the Marauders from the outside and make my way into the main building, where more Marauders are waiting. I have a look around and find a containment pod connected to a terminal, which requires a keycard to access. I do my usual looting and eventually find it, then head back downstairs to enter the keycard. The terminal has me answer some ridiculous questions in quiz-like fashion, and once I complete it, a new science weapon is mine. The Gloop Gun. My science skills are still not high enough to effectively use, so this will get tossed into storage next time I'm back on the ship. With that done, there are only 2 more science weapons left to find, and neither are on this planet. So I shoot a few more marauders as I head up the road and finally make it into the Den of Outlaws known as Fallbrook. A sublight employee stops me at the gate, so I ask him where Catherine is.
She's not but just down the way. A 10-to-1 says she's either pouring drinks or skinning a sprat in the saloon.
And I continue on. Since we're going to be here for a bit, I head to the back of town to the landing pad and call the Unreliable down. Vicar Max was looking for a scholar named Reginald Cheney in order to translate the book written in French that we found previously. Max and I visit Reginald's quarters in town to find a log he's been keeping as he pants for gold in the town stream.
Sounds like Cheney's gone gold panning down on the river. I guess even scholars need to find ways to make ends meet in exile.
We head to where Reginald last was, and it's immediately obvious that this man is no scholar.
What do you want? Oh, hey, Vicar Max. What are you doing on Monarch? I thought scienticians ain't welcome here.
From what Max says, he and Reginald met while Max was in prison, and Reginald was the one who told him where to find the book in the first place. Reginald saw it as a harmless joke to get back at Max for his holier-than-thou attitude, but Max is not laughing.
See, Captain? I've dealt with this swine before. I know how he thinks. Now, where were we? Oh, that's right. I was about to beat you. Severely.
Wait! I know who can translate the book for you.
According to Reginald, the book came from a hermit who is currently holed up on Scylla, so she's our best bet for answers. Max is still fuming, however, and I don't mind violence as long as it ain't directed at me, so I let Max kill Reginald.
What? No!
I actually had to do it because companions are not marksmen, and I can't let Max die. I tell him I'm not thrilled about the fact he lied to me about why we were here, and I send him back to the ship. I goofed because before I can talk to Catherine about my current quest, I need to get a passcode from someone back in Stellar Bay, so I take the ship back there, ignore Grimm for the 4th time, and find the code on a body by the docks. With that found, I head back to Fallbrook to see Catherine.
Uh-huh. You blind, fella? Or can you not see I'm busy? Why is it every sissy pig fucker who strolls into my town expects me to smile and shout awful friendly? Welcome to Fallbrook.
I tell her Lilia Hagen sent me to help her, and she gets to the point, telling me I need to lift a few canisters of something called Alta Vitae gas from a lab in Cascadia, since it's worth a lot and the board never came back for it after abandoning the town. The passcode I got will get me into the lab, and once I locate the right terminal, I have to siphon the gas into my ship's fuel tanks, which does not sound
totally safe.
On top of that, Catherine gave me a separate job. A Sissy Pig manufacturing plant outside of town is run by a guy named Clive Lumberg.
He's making the only meal to be had this side of Monarch, and I'm tired of ponying up for my dinner. I want that Borst factory. Owner dead or alive.
I agree to help, but that'll have to wait until later. Before I leave, I let her know I found Arthur holed up in a cavern below the bridge outside of town. Sans cargo, but he is alive. She half-heartedly thanks me, but wishes someone would kill the marauders responsible. Funny enough, she also does not tell me exactly where the hell those specific marauders are, so who knows when I'll get to that. I like to keep a clean quest log, and I currently have more quests off-world than I do on Monarch, so I bid farewell to this prolapsed anus of a planet and head to visit Phineas at his lab. Hopefully he doesn't talk my ear off when I get there.